All right, we're just going to perform task 4, which is just performing a leukocyte differential. I have all my supplies right here. I have my calculator to help me determine my white blood cell estimate a little later. I have my microscope. I have a pen. I have a piece of paper where I'm going to take my notes when I do my white blood cell estimate. We'll go over that in a little bit. And I already have my slide that I already have stained. So we're going to go ahead and take a peek underneath the microscope. So first thing that we want to do, we're going to take our slide and we're going to put it with the butt end or the frosted end towards the left side of the stage. So we're just going to place that down with the frosted edge, aka the butt end of the slide, on the left-hand side of the stage. We're going to get locked and loaded. I'm going to turn on my light. And one of the first things that we want to do is just make sure that we are nice and focused so that we can have a nice view of our blood smear. Move my calculator. Okay, so we're just going to lower the light a little bit. Make this a little wider for my eyes. Okay, and then we're just going to move things around until we are nice and focused. Again, we're starting on the 4 times objective lens just to get our initial focus. All right, almost. We're going to fine tune it a little bit. Okay. So I feel that we're nice and focused. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the objective turret just to switch it over to the 10 times objective lens, which is also known as the low power lens. And with this objective lens, we're going to want to be looking at our entire slide, and we want to just check for any abnormalities, any clumping, any debris, just any large objects that aren't typical on a blood smear. We just want to do an overall exam of the slide, make sure that there's nothing abnormal that needs to be noted. So I'm just going to go ahead on my 10 times objective lens, take a peek at my whole blood smear slide, make sure I don't see anything abnormal or any large objects. So we're going to start at the bottom left of my slide. We're going to get nice and focused again. Use my fine tuning right here. Okay, and again I'm going to go from left to right initially, and then we're just going to do a quick view over my entire slide. So far, everything's looking pretty good. Don't see anything out of the normal. All right, so we're going to go up, and then we're going to go from right to left. Tiny air bubble. Still not seeing any debris, any artifacts. We're going to go up, and then we're going to go from left to right. I don't see any clumping. I'm not seeing, too much of anything that's concerning. We're going to go up, and then we're going to go from right to left. Again, still not really seeing any clumping, don't see any large objects, nothing out the norm. We're going to go up, and then we're going to go from left to right. Okay, and we're going to go up. Then we're going to go from right to left, and this is going to be my final section. again, liking what I'm seeing. I viewed the entire slide. I don't see any clumping. I don't see any large objects. I don't see anything I don't see anything abnormal or anything out of the norm. I don't see any debris, minus that one tiny little air bubble. Everything looks good. So we're done with being on the 10 times objective lens. So now we're just going to use our objective turret and switch over to the 40 times objective lens, which is also just known as the high dry lens. Okay, so now we're on the 40 times objective lens. We're going to scroll back down towards the middle. And then this is where we're going to want to also do like a quick little glance, but we're going to start wanting to focus a little bit more on our monolayer in this section. I gotta stand a little bit, my foot's going numb. Okay, so again, we're on the 40 times objective lens, which is just the high dry lens. And in this area, we're just going to want to look over our slide, make sure that we are stained appropriately. We don't want to be too dark because that means that we overstained our blood smear. We don't want to be too light because that means that we didn't really, it just broke my glove. That means, let me grab another glove. That means that we stained it too little, so we would have to stain it again. So again, we're going to be examining the quality of our staining of our slide, make sure it's not too dark, not too light. We want to look at the distribution of cells in our monolayer, make sure it's a nice single layer that you can distinctly see your platelets and your white blood cells, and that they're looking okay. And then last but not least, on this objective lens, we're going to be doing our white blood cell estimate, which again, the way that works, I have this written down that this is going to be my white blood cell estimate. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boxes, which technically stands for each of the 10 fields that I'm going to be viewing. So as I view one field, I'm going to count the number of white blood cells that I see and write it down for each field because we want to look at 10 fields total. And then after we are done with our 10 fields and writing down how many white blood cells we see, we're going to add up all 10 of these numbers to get our average of our white blood cells. And then we take our average, we divide that by 10 because we looked at 10 fields, and then you take that number, multiply it by 2,000, and that's what's going to give you your white blood cell estimate. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a peek. Again, first thing I want to do is just look over my slide real quick just to look at the distribution of my cells and look at the staining quality of my slide to make sure that I'm happy with the staining. So again, we're just going to turn the light up a little bit. We're going to focus a little bit. Okay, and again, we're just going to look over everything real quick just to make sure that we like what we see. Make it a little brighter. Okay, so everything is looking pretty good to me. I can see that my cells are distributed very nicely. You know, obviously when you are in the body of the blood smear, it's more thickened. You can't really distinguish your cells too much. But then as you go to the right-hand side of the slide, as you go closer to your monolayer, you know, the cells get thinner and are in a single layer so that you can see, you know, your white blood cells a little bit more. So that's where we're going to be doing our viewing of our fields. I'm going to focus a little bit more right there. So I'm appreciating the distribution of my cells. And I'm also really liking how this slide was stained. I feel that it's appropriate. It's not too dark, which means that I did not overstain it. And it's not too light because I can see all my cells very nicely. So I'm going to say I am good to view my blood smear slide just to do my white blood cell estimate. Okay? So So I'm just going to take a seat. Okay. And again, I have my 10 squares representing my 10 fields that I'm about to be viewing. As I see white blood cells in each field, I'll write them down, and then we're going to add up all those numbers just to get my white blood cell average. So I'm going to go, let's see, so that's my feathered edge. So we're going to go to our monolayer. We're going to start at the bottom. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, look at 10 different fields, and start counting my white blood cells. So this is field 1. Make it a little darker. So I got 7. Okay. Then we're going to go up. I got 6. Go to another field. Only 3 in that one. Looks like there's only 2 in that field. Just gonna move over a little bit. Okay, there's 6. Eight. Five. That one had 9. Five. And then we're coming to my last box, so that means that's going to be my 10th field. And that looks like that has 6. Okay, so now I have all 10 of my fields, quote unquote, filled in. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my white blood cell average, which is just adding up all of those numbers. So we're going to do 7 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2 plus 6 plus 8 plus 5 plus 9 plus 5 plus 6. So that equals 57. Okay, so that's all of my fields added together. So now we want the mean average for the white blood cells. So that's my total white blood cells that I've seen in all of my 10 fields. So we're going to take 57 divided by 10 because we looked at 10 different fields. And then, so we're going to divide that by 10 equals 5.7. So 5.7 is going to be my average. So then we're going to multiply that times 2,000, which is going to equal my white blood cell estimate. So it's going to be 11,400 per microliter. Okay, so again, my white blood cell estimate after adding up all of my boxes or my fields, dividing it by 10, my average was 5.7. Multiply it by 2,000. So my white blood cell estimate is 11,400 per microliter. Okay, so that concludes the first portion of task 4, which is just performing a leukocyte differential. So I'll be back in a moment and we'll continue on.